Many of our problems could be solved if we were kinder to ourselves. And I'll tell you how I know. I believe most of the world's problems could be solved if each of us were kinder to ourselves. Being kinder to yourself inspires you to be kinder to others. A person who feels good about self tends to want others to feel good also. So if you're kind to yourself, you are less likely to harm someone else. We're exploring self-bullying and how it originated, the effects, and how we can put an end to it. This is the Big Up Yourself Show. I am your host, Winsome Alexander, a self empowerment mentor, also known as the Big Sister. I've been working with survivors of trauma since 2008, and I've been nominated one of Texas Inspiring Women for my work with adult survivors of childhood abuse. On this show, we do what many avoid doing, and that is work on improving self, right? Self accountability. We hold space for the conversations that could bring about transformation from the inside out. We get a lot of, guys, we got a lot of work to do, right? Most of us want the shortcut to the feel good, but you don't get to the feel good without doing some self work. And even if you achieve some amount of feel good, you can't really enjoy it because you haven't done the work um towards self serenity, right? And serenity, the self work is what gets you to serenity. So, with the self work, we feature stories of everyday people like you and me because our stories are just as valuable as stories of celebrities, or stories can inspire, heal, and motivate. And this show truly is not for everyone, it's for self seekers. Most people are not interested in this type of self work. They're more concerned with what they look like on the outside, the money, the privileges, the careers, the adult toys, the physical beauty. But this show is a space for those of us who really desire to do the dirty work of confronting self with the goal of modeling true self love, not just on the exterior, but from deep within, so that we can have serenity, peace of mind. If you care about finally being at peace with yourself, you're invited to subscribe, join the community, share your comments, and share the videos with someone who might need it. Welcome. So, we're talking about self bullying, and I have a guest today who knows a little something about it, right? You know, when I posted the promo in a Facebook group yesterday, someone commented that they've never heard of self-bullying before. This is something my guest, but this is something my guest speaks about. So, Nicole, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to hear your story and how you became interested in this topic of self bullying. But before that, please tell me your name. You know what? Before that, let's take a breath. Let's pause and take 3 deep breaths so we can relax and get centered and get present. We're going to just breathe in, hold for 4, and breathe out 3 times. Let's go. Perfect. Perfect. Now we feel more centered and grounded. So it's good to have you, Nicole, and we're going to get to know you and hear your story. But first, let's see. Tell me about your name because I noticed that your name carries 2 C's. How did that happen?
I think it was just my mom wanted my name to be different. She liked the name Nicole, but I think there was a lot of Nicole's around that time. And so she was like, how can I make it different? And of course, growing up, I didn't like it because,
Yes,
when you would get anything with your name on it, it was always spelt wrong. So I kind of always felt like left out or different or weird. And now I love it. But growing up, it was,
yes,
oh man,
yes,
weird.
yes. Because it does cause you to stand out. It does set you apart having the two C's in there. So every time you tell someone your name, do you have to spell it for them? You have to make sure that they have the two C's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I still find people that have known me forever that, will spell it wrong. Or, of course, autocorrect doesn't like it.
right,
Autocorrects people all the time. So, yeah.
right. Interesting. Oh my gosh. All right. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right. So we're going to be talking about self-bullying. You were a person who was guilty of harassing yourself with that negative self-talk. Where did that originate from? Was there some traumatic experiences that happened in your past that caused you to start to like talk and bad mouth yourself?
Um, I don't know, like, necessarily, but my friend and I were talking the other day and we were saying like when we grew up, it was like if people were like, I guess, like too confident or too full of themselves or conceited. Like it was like, I don't know why it was ever a thing or whatever, but it was like if some kid acted like overly confident, it was like, oh, they're full of themselves, they're conceited, whatever. So I think like we just, for some reason, we're not supposed to act, like you shouldn't be full of yourself, but you should at least be confident in your own skin and feel good in yourself. But like, for some reason, we all just were like, oh, if I act a certain way, then I don't know. So maybe that very young age got programmed into my brain that I wasn't supposed to be happy with myself or something. I don't understand where that came from, but I definitely know, like, in middle school, getting, kids are not nice. It was a lot. So it caused me to beat myself up, and I feel like that probably had a lot to do with it. And
So
in high school, I would look in the mirror and just like, instead of like be happy with what I saw, I would sit there and pick apart every single little detail of myself
yeah.
and and then end up crying in the mirror. And I ended up depressed because of it, because I just did it
Wow.
every single day, just the tiniest things.
So you can't pinpoint something that happened to cause you to begin to, because it sounded like you were okay up until you say middle school. Was it middle school that you started looking in the mirror and feeling uncomfortable with what you saw?
I know in elementary school, I had a fifth grade teacher that was horrible. And, she said a lot of not nice things to me and like to my parents and everything. And then, so I think that probably started it. And then, kids not being nice in middle school, 1 minute they're your friend, next minute they're stabbing you in the back. And then high school, I remember like, I feel like my childhood's like a blur in some ways, a lot of
Yes.
things, but I definitely remember high school constantly looking in the mirror and just destroying myself, straight
Wow.
bullying my own self. It's
Wow.
funny.
And so that continued from high school all the way up through to how long?
A couple years ago, like
Really?
I'm
Really?
just like disgusted knowing that I did that to myself for so long.
And then you started speaking out about it.
Yeah. Yeah,
What
because
are
I realized how much it impacted myself. Like, you spend the
yes.
most time with yourself. So if that person you're spending all your time with is saying all these terrible things all the time, like, how do you expect to like your mental health and everything to be? Like,
Exactly.
it's just like,
Exactly.
I'm like, what were you thinking?
Wow. What are
Why?
the things that you would say to yourself?
Oh my goodness. Like, pretty much anything and everything. When people would be like, what do you like about yourself? And I'm like, or what don't you like? I'd be like, well, the shorter answer is what I do like, and then I just still didn't even know how to answer it. But like, just even no matter how skinny you are, to like, oh, I have a roll, it means I'm fat, or my teeth aren't straight. I don't like this, I don't like that, and just I'm not smart, I'm stupid. You drop something on the floor and you're like, oh, you effing idiot, like, why'd you do that? Like, just everything was just so nasty and horrible.
Yeah.
Literally just pick every single thing apart, like everything.
And it's interesting. One would look at you and think that, man, you have it made. There's no reason for you to not like yourself because you're beautiful. You are, nicely proportioned and everything. You're intelligent and whatnot. So it's like, what's there to not like about Nicole?
And that's what people would say to me, but I would just be like, it just kind of like, it was nice to hear, but like I had myself so programmed with this negative stuff that I was telling myself all the time that it didn't change anything to hear that from other people. It was nice to hear, but it wasn't changing me inside. I had to do that on my own.
Yeah. So somehow, somewhere along the line, some messages were implanted into you that you were not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so very often we don't know exactly where and when it happened that we started to feel badly about ourselves. But yeah, you heard it enough times and saw it enough times somewhere where you began to believe that you're not enough. So bullying is a form of aggressive behavior where someone repeatedly, intentionally harms or intimidates another person who is perceived to be weaker or vulnerable. Now, and we do this to ourselves, right? Habitually, preying upon our own selves because of our own weaknesses, not giving ourselves enough grace, but thinking, okay, we have a little flaw, so inherently we are bad. So this aggression that we carry towards ourselves, imagine being aggressive towards yourself, right, is self-threatening, and we do it so much that we don't even realize when we're doing it, right?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it was so normal and familiar for me to do it that it wasn't until I went on this path of trying to help myself with my mental health that I was like, holy cow, like, I've been poisoning myself my whole life with this nastiness.
Yes. So like in my case, right, I attacked myself so much that people would actually comment and say, why are you talking to yourself like that? Like one time I was at work, and some of the behaviors that I would engage in were self-destructive. Yeah, so one time I was at work and there was this huge mirror. And when I caught myself, and I was with some friends at work, and when I caught myself in the mirror, I cringed and I hid, right? And the coworker said something about me hating myself, and I didn't realize until she said it. I didn't realize that being so uncomfortable with what I saw in the mirror was self-rejection, and it was self-hate. And if I was so uncomfortable with what I saw in the mirror, no wonder I talked to myself so negatively all those years. I couldn't even stand to see myself in the mirror. And I remember another time again at work when I was struggling, and I used to get so upset with myself and my performance at work, and the manager would say, be kind to Winsome. I didn't understand why she would say that, but clearly I was exhibiting so much frustration with myself, and I wasn't aware I was doing it, but she felt the need to remind me to be kind to myself because clearly I was obviously berating myself, right? This type of behavior will prevent you from succeeding at your goals. Were there times when you were so negative towards yourself um that it kind of sabotaged any of your goals or sabotaged
Oh,
you in any kind of way?
definitely. I think I've always held myself back and, just even social stuff, like just,
Yeah.
you don't feel good. You feel like, people would always call me a snob because I'd be so shy and so in myself
Wow.
that everybody would be like, "Oh, I thought you were so snobby," but I was just so shy and so introverted and
Oh,
so, like, not confident in myself because I just beat myself down so much. And, even past relationships, like, I let them beat me down, and then I just had no self-worth, no confidence, and it showed through in a way that people were just automatically like, "Oh, she's pretty, she's a snob." And it was
yes.
horrible. I hated it because I was like, "I'm not a snob, I promise."
Wow, that's a good point that you made. So you can be misunderstood sometimes by the
Mhm.
way you behave because of that negative self-talk in your head that you are you're not good enough, you're not worthy to socialize and be friends with these people, you're not comfortable in your skin. Oh my gosh. And therefore people think that you are snobbish. That
Yeah,
that's such a good example of what negative self-talk can do.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
um, Now, yeah, because our words and our thoughts. Here comes Marilyn. Ooh, she has Healthier You with Nicole Bruce. Healthier You with Nicole Bruce. Look at that. Is that your website? Oh, that's
Uh,
your YouTube channel.
okay, yeah. Yeah, I have a private Facebook group, and then, yeah, they all have, like, building a happier, healthier you as part of it.
Love
Um,
it.
I'm
Love
a rookie at setting some of this stuff up, so who knows if my YouTube is, not, like, officially, like, in the I don't know if the whole name, I don't know what it is, but yeah. I'm
it.
starting out.
I'm glad you're doing this work because we need it. We need it. And a lot of people are not paying attention to how much we bully ourselves. So I'm so glad that you're doing this. When I saw that you were doing the work, I was like, yes, I got to talk to her. Good. I'm glad somebody is doing it because our thoughts and words create our reality, right? So if we're at work or in business, if we're at work or in business, we got to make sure that we're paying close attention to the things that we are saying to ourselves every day. Because, like you mentioned before, it can sabotage your success. Um, we are able, most likely, to be able to point the finger at someone bullying us or mistreating us. But can you recognize yourself? Can you identify yourself as your own bully? Imagine being your own bully. It's not someone abusing you. It's not someone else beating up on you. It's you doing it to yourself. That's serious. That is serious. And it's important to identify that you are a bully to yourself so that you can correct it. So, what are some of the ways that we beat up on ourselves? Let me start. Beating up on ourselves can take various forms, including verbal, physical, emotional. We can bully ourselves in the way that we treat ourselves with bad habits, self-destructive behaviors, denying ourselves celebration. One of the hardest things in the work that I do is getting people to celebrate themselves. People don't feel like they deserve to be celebrated. And you mentioned it earlier about people being conceited and stuff. And so people feel judged for being conceited, and therefore they don't celebrate themselves. But self denying yourself self celebration for your wins and your accomplishments can be considered a form of self bullying, right? Overlooking your wins, not giving yourself credit for your accomplishment, not crediting yourself for when you get it right. But what is bullying anyway? We didn't really talk about what exactly is bullying. Let's get back to the basics. What is bullying? Because I had to run and look up what exactly is bullying.
To me, I've just looked at it as like constantly beating myself up and saying nasty things. And, you know, anytime I'd look in the mirror, it was just something gross about myself that, you know, isn't necessarily even true. Like other people don't see the things that I would say and, you know, or be like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? Like,
Right.
but yeah, I would just constantly and yeah, celebrating wins. Like I'm just now learning to do that, no matter how
Yes.
small. Like
Yes.
even when I would work out, it was like I was working out like in a way, like I did it for stress, but I would almost be like, you know, punishing myself and trying to force my body to look a certain way and do whatever. And it was just like almost I think it was turning into a punishment in a way. And I think that's a horrible way of looking at it.
Yes. Wow. Yes. Yeah. So bullying often involves a power imbalance, right? Think of the bully in the schoolyard trying to exert power over his victim. Um, so we bully ourselves by accusing ourselves harshly when we make mistakes, right? Self-bullying is sad and seriously destructive. If you continue to effectively highlight your weaknesses and pound on yourself for those weaknesses, it's a sad and destructive thing. Again, like the bully in the schoolyard, you throw punches in the form of self-celebration, punching yourself, you know,
Mhm.
um, um, in the form of self-criticism. I mean, you steal your stuff, like the bully steals, you know, your shoes and your lunch and stuff. You steal your own stuff from your own self, stuff like self recognition and self celebration. You're stealing those things from yourself when you bully yourself like that, right?
And
uh,
I honestly think the verbal stuff sticks with you forever. Like you can recover from your physical like beating up, but like yeah, the verbal, like I still have stuff stuck in my head from when, you know, people said stuff to me as a kid. Like so the verbal stuff really is the worst, I think.
Yes, yes, yes. You have a point there. If some of and some of that anxiety that we're experiencing, you know, is self-bullying in action.
Mhm. For sure. Yeah.
I thought about because I had, you know, a couple of anxiety episodes a couple of weeks ago, and during those episodes, I wasn't thinking well of myself. You know, most times
Mhm.
when you're anxious, you're doubting yourself. You're telling yourself you're not good enough. You can't. You're a failure. You're not going to make it. And if you fall, you won't get back up. You made a mistake, and now it's all over. That anxiety and fear. You don't trust yourself. That's all self-bullying.
Yeah.
You're not on your own side.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I mean, that's horrible because, yeah, like I said, you're spending the most time with yourself. And if you aren't your biggest fan, like I know we can all be our own worst critic and everything, but you need to build yourself up as much as you can because that's not anybody else's job. It's yours. You know, other people can take that away from you, but you can't take that away from yourself. So I think it's
Yes.
so important to be your biggest cheerleader and
Yes.
be on your own side because the rest of the world, you can't control it, you know, but you can control what you're saying to yourself and how you're treating yourself. And that makes the biggest impact on everything in your life mentally.
That's right. That's right. Be your own best cheerleader, your own best friend. And bullying can happen in various settings, such as work, um, school, community. I remember applying for a job one time, right? And I already had told myself I was going to fail at the job. And I expressed this to the therapist. This is how much, oh my God, this is how much negative self talk I would be feeding myself and not even quite aware that I was living in that constant cycle of berating myself, not expecting much of myself. And I was talking to the therapist and telling her how I know that I'm already going to fail at the job, right? Already being
Mhm.
myself before I even started. This type of negative self bullying could have caused me to behave in a manner that would cause me to actually fail at the job. I could have, it could have been so bad that, and this happens a lot. We bully ourselves so much that we don't start something. We are afraid to start something. I mean, I bullied myself before I started this show. I bullied myself so much that I almost didn't do it, right? And many a times, even before episodes, I had to do work to even come on the episode. It's constant, it's that constant chatter in your head that you are not enough. Yeah. And we need to do a better job. You know, that thing they call imposter syndrome that shows
Mhm.
up mostly with people at work. They talk about that imposter syndrome. I believe that that is a form of self bullying, taking the credit you deserve and trampling it in the ground because you feel like you don't deserve it. I believe that's what self imposter syndrome is, a form of self bullying.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I know I've struggled with it too. And you
Yeah.
know, I've never liked to be on camera. I hated pictures. Like everything about what I'm doing now is so outside my comfort zone. But I know how much I didn't realize what I was doing to myself and the problems I was causing. That I was just like, once I realized and I changed things, and it made me such a whole different person, you know, in myself, and so much happier in life just because
Yes.
I wasn't. It's like feeding yourself poison. Just
Yes.
it's horrible.
You said it so well. It's like feeding yourself poison. You said it so well. Oh my goodness. And bullying can have long lasting effects on a victim's mental and emotional well being. And you mentioned that earlier too, as well as our academic or professional performance. You're victimizing yourself. You know, you become your own victim. Imagine becoming your own victim. You're bad mouthing yourself. How does that affect your mental health? Well, to beat upon yourself, you kind of have to split. You kind of have to split. You kind of have to have almost like split personality. It's like turning upon yourself, right? Imagine
Mhm.
punching, I said this before, punching yourself in the mirror, punching at yourself, beating up on yourself. That's what we do. That's what
Yep.
we do, you know, when we belittle ourselves, when we doubt ourselves, when we put ourselves down, or allow others to do the same. So let's talk about how we're going to stop the cycle. And you guys, please like, subscribe, uh, share this video, turn on the notification bell when you subscribe, please, so you don't miss an episode. We talk about really important topics here on this show. Um, Now, let's take some steps to stop bullying ourselves and be our own advocates and allies and more supportive of ourselves. And here's why I feel like self work is so vital. I consider myself an extremely supportive person. Yes, I am. I wear that crown. I wear that crown well because I support is actually my favorite word, right? But as supportive as I was of everyone else, I was not supportive of myself at all. I'm better today. I'm better today. Yay! I'm better today. Let me take a sip. I'm celebrating because I'm better today. Today, I go as far as to romance myself on solo birthday trips, including romantic solo birthday dinners in different countries in the world, putting out all the stops to show appreciation for myself. So I challenge you to do romantic things for yourself. Do romantic things for yourself. Whether you are married or not, romance yourself. Treat yourself well. You know, you to treat yourself well, you have to be in a place where you're telling yourself that you are deserving. That's undoing the mental bullying of yourself. There's positive self talk involved in you when you buy yourself a nice piece of jewelry, some flowers, a trip across continents, whatever your idea of romance is, whatever you would like someone else to do for you to show you that they dig you, do those things for yourself. If you are actively doing those nice things for yourself, you are undoing that cycle of negativity that you're feeding yourself, right? You are now beginning to tell yourself that you are deserving and you are worthy. I want to encourage you to travel to your original self. Some call it the authentic self. No more self-denial, you guys. Embrace and celebrate your originality, your originality. Some of us are afraid of being original. We are afraid of being the only. We are afraid of standing out. Originality is beautiful. Some of us like to copy what others are doing. Do you stay in your lane? It is powerful in your lane. So, gravitate towards your originality. You don't need to be like anyone else. You are enough all by yourself. You are a replica of God, possessing the same powers as God. As if you choose, if you choose to believe and use those powers, you have the same powers of God, and there's nothing that deserves to be ill spoken of you if you choose to be your best self. And that's why this channel exists, right? This channel exists so to remind you of who you are and what you can aspire to be. And that's not to say that we don't have some flaws and traits that need improvement. We know we're not perfect, but we can take honest stock of where we want to grow with the intention of correcting and growing and evolving to get closer to our authentic self, your best and highest self. That's understandable, but don't just criticize yourself because you don't like this and you don't like that, and therefore you're inherently bad, right? You can fix your flaws, right, Nicole?
Oh, definitely. And, I was such a perfectionist before, and I still struggle with it. I say I'm a recovering perfectionist
Yes.
because I still revert back to it sometimes. But yeah, 100%. Like, I always, well, a lot of times when girls get together, somehow we all get on the subject of like talking about our flaws and our stuff. And, I think once I started in this journey of, being aware of my negative self-talk, I would be like, guys, like we wouldn't say this stuff to our loved ones. You wouldn't say it to your child. Why are we saying it to ourselves? Like, this is horrible. Why? Like, and they all like kind of looked at me and they're like, you're right. Like, so why are we doing this? Like, it's silly. Like, even if there is something you don't like and you want to improve upon, but give yourself the grace to be like, hey, I'm working on this. I'm doing amazing. It's a step in the right direction every day. As long as you're making those steps to improve on whatever you're maybe not happy with, like, it's okay to not be happy with everything in your life.
Yes.
But to just give yourself the grace to be like, I'm trying.
Yes.
I'm doing my best. And not just be like, oh, you're a failure, you're this, you're that, you're whatever it is that you're picking apart, your weight, whatever. I know as women, especially our hormones fluctuate, and sometimes we're really hard on ourselves different times of the month, and it's horrible.
Yeah, it is horrible. It really is bad to hear people talk about to hear us talk about ourselves the way that we talk about ourselves. And it's true, to give ourselves grace to grow. It's okay, like you said, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. Everything doesn't have to we're human. We don't have to pretend that everything is great and wonderful about us. But there are areas in where we are being challenged to grow, and that's okay. But to Mimi, you are absolutely correct. She said, we give more grace to others. Yes, that's what you
Mhm.
were saying, Nicole. That we give more grace to others than we give to ourselves. That's not right. You were saying that some of the things we tell ourselves we would never tell to another person.
Never.
We wouldn't do it. How
No.
where do we get this idea that it's okay to say that to ourselves?
I- it's ridiculous. And I think one of the biggest game changers for myself was to like realize, like, we tell everybody else we love them and we care about them and say nice things. So I started getting in the mirror and looking at myself in my own eyes and being like, I love you. And it
Yes.
felt so weird and emotional and like everything. But why would I never tell myself I love you? Like I always told you, I
Yes.
hate you, I don't like you, I don't like this, I don't like that. But I never had looked at myself and just said, I love you. And it brought
Yes.
on like so much emotion.
Yes.
Uh,
I remember on Valentine's Day, I challenged people because some of us may not hear somebody else tell us, I love you.
mhm,
Tell yourself.
yep.
Tell yourself. When we wake up, we'll go to work, or, we'll say a greeting to everybody else. Good morning, good evening, good night. And we don't tell ourselves, completely neglecting ourselves all day long, sending ourselves those no wonder we overeat, no wonder we drink, no wonder we do these things, because this is the subliminal negative messages that we send ourselves every day, that we are not enough, we are not worthy. Yeah. So you mentioned telling yourself that you love yourself. um a bully prays and picks on someone they perceive to be weak. So when you pick on yourself, you're confirming that you see yourself as someone weak and vulnerable to abuse. What if you become an advocate and an ally and see yourself instead as someone who is growing and moving closer to your original self, that self that was created in its truest, purest form before trauma and life tripped you up, right? Start seeing yourself in that truest, purest form that you were created in. Because let me tell you, when you were created, the Creator saw no flaws in you, saw no fault in you. You were good. That's the word. Created. When the Creator created everything, He said, yeah, that was good. That's good. When you were created, you were deemed good, right? So
Mhm.
begin to start looking at yourself as you were in the purest form that you were created. And I would challenge people to engage in some sort of self love mantra. Like you were saying, you tell yourself you love yourself. Some self love mantras and meditations can be helpful. There is a channel on YouTube called Self, and it has some self love meditations on there. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. There's another channel called Great Meditation. There is some self love mantras on there. And we might overlook the impact of meditation, but let me tell you, mindfulness and meditation changed my life. And if you start Doing some mindfulness meditations on self-love is going to change the way you perceive yourself drastically. And let me tell you, when you improve the way you see yourself, your life is going to improve drastically right alongside it, because the way you feel about yourself is what create everything begins and ends with the way you feel about yourself. So the way you see yourself is going to affect your entire life, right? So, yeah. And we are planning a retreat, you guys. We're planning a self love, self discovery, natural mystic kind of healing retreat in Jamaica in October. We'll have some self hypnosis and other healing modalities to help usher in that deep self love. Um, and awaken your intuition and heal from trauma wounds. And I don't want you to get excited by the mention of hypnosis, right? It's not like we're going to put you in a spell or in a trance and do some hocus pocus like you've been taught. Hypnosis is simply a guided meditation. It's a guided meditation. You're going to be deeply relaxing. And if you suffer from some sort of anxiety, that's going to help you. I did it with my friend Nicole, Danielle. And let me tell you something. I wish I could do it every single week. I became I'm prone to anxiety myself, and that meditation was so relaxing, made me feel so good about myself. If you put yourself in position to be doing these kinds of meditations where you're focusing on loving yourself and becoming closer to God, your entire life is going to change. And then you'll be able to help other people, right? Because it's really not even just about you, it's just so that you can impact other people. So stay tuned for the retreat information, but seek out these opportunities to go inward and to focus on blossoming from within. Spend less time with the superficial things that will pass away, and work on more eternal things like love, kindness, serenity, things that will sustain you despite all the chaos in the world. Things that things that even if you lose a loved one, listen to this. This is why you need this kind of self work, right? This is why you need to be shoring up yourself against self-bullying and talking negatively to yourself. It will help sustain you when life gets difficult. So even if you lose a loved one, even if the worst thing happens, you get cancer or whatever the worst thing you think that could happen to you, at least your foundation is not shaken. You are still solid within yourself. These are the things you want to work on, not just the external things. Wealth is nice, looking good is important, possessions are lovely, but they are fleeting. Focus on things that last, and that's, your essence, your foundation. Marilyn is showing your stuff again. And
Oh,
you
thanks.
name others who abuse us. Yeah, I was talking about how we can name others who abuse us, but can we name that we are abusing ourselves? Yeah. So as I mentioned before, we do have a lot of work to do, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of work to do. And bullying, we said, is not just verbal. Here are some of the other ways that we beat upon ourselves. I mentioned before the drinking, the doing drugs, the fighting with people. Fighting with people, right? When you find yourself fighting with people, you got some issues with yourself, right? Being irritable, overeating, neglecting hygiene, not getting enough quality rest, not letting someone help you and support you. That's being abusive to yourself too, not allowing people to help you and support you. Doing everything yourself, not getting a mental health help, right? That's self abusive. Not getting physical checkups, ignoring symptoms in your body, not listening to your body, not getting enough exercise, not drinking your water, or too much exercise, some of us not eating enough. These are ways in which we abuse ourselves. We won't want to admit we are guilty of abusing ourselves in some of these ways mentioned above, but we won't be able to make corrections if we don't confront these things. And some of you wouldn't allow someone to treat you badly or talk badly to you. So don't do it to yourself. Don't allow yourself to be mistreated or mishandled or disrespected and just accept it. At the very least, make note that the behavior violates your code of ethics against yourself, your code of self ethics. And even if you're not in a position to confront the violator, at least be aware and protect yourself so it doesn't become a behavior that you accept and continue to attract, right? Because we will sit there for years and just accept people treating us badly, right? And we'll accept it because that's what we do to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So get radical with your self-love. The love you have for yourself sets the bar for all the other love you experience. It starts with you. The more self-love behaviors you engage in, the less you will talk down to yourself or allow anyone else to talk down to you. So do beautiful, loving things for yourself in the name of self-love, you guys. Because here's the thing. Loving self is loving God. And I hope you get this. Loving yourself is loving God, right? Since you are the replica of God and you are one with God and you were recreated in God's image and God resides in you, loving yourself is loving God. And I'll talk more about that in another video. But Nicole, I want to ask you one last thing before we go, as we're getting ready to wrap up. I want you to share with us what is one thing that you would like to big up yourself for in this season.
Just keep pushing myself out of my comfort zone, doing stuff like this. Like, I actually just told a friend the other night that I was getting on a podcast, and they're like, "You're what?" Like, they know this is like so beyond something I normally would do. And because in the end, like, when I do stuff that doesn't normally align with what I would like to do, and the introverted side of me doesn't like being on camera or speaking in front of people. Like, I would dread in class, like, please don't call on me or don't make me get up and talk in front of people. And then, to be able to do this sort of thing, it does feel good. It does help with your confidence to just try something new, something you would be afraid to do. And yeah, to just continue to be on camera and try to help people and share my story and everything, because I'm now seeing how everything in my life has been affected. Like, I had been in bad relationships, and I just now thinking, I'm realizing that, I was like, I'm a good person. Why do I keep attracting people that want to treat me like this? And it's because deep down, I was always treating myself really badly, and I just didn't notice it. I just kept being like, I'm a good person. Why do I keep getting bad people or people that treat me like this? And it was just, I literally was so unaware of that. I was putting that energy into myself, and it was showing up elsewhere.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Putting that energy out there, and people pick up on these energies, people pick up on you, and that's why you become vulnerable. That's why bullies pick on certain people, because of the energy they put out. They see them as vulnerable. So yeah, so when you feel badly about yourself, yeah, people can pick up on that and then turn on you and start to pick on you. Yeah. So that's why that self work is so important. And I'm so glad that you're doing it. And I'm so glad that you agreed to come on the show today and share with us, and share with us a little bit about your journey with self-bullying. And I hope self-bullying is something that you continue to pursue and help people with. because I think you are a great ambassador for that message.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love what you're doing too. I'm so glad you didn't hold yourself back because, yeah, you're doing wonderful things also.
Thank you. Thank you. So, guys, I hope you have seen the ways in which you bully yourself and where it all began and how to cut it out, right? Many of is Marilyn, many of our problems, as I said before, could be solved if we were kinder to ourselves. And I believe most of the world's problems would be solved if each of us were kinder to ourselves, because being kinder to ourselves inspires us to be kinder to others. A person who feels good about self tends to want others to feel good too. So if you're kind to yourself, you're less likely to cause harm to someone else. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell when you subscribe so that you don't miss an episode of the Big Up Yourself show. You never know what we're going to talk about on this show, right? Topics that can make a big difference to your life, that can create transformation in your life. And as we close, I want to thank you, Mimi. If you're still here, I want to thank you for joining us. Marilyn, so faithful. I want to thank you so much, our moderator. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Nicole. You have been amazing, right? Let's see. Okay. And as we go today, may there be ease within your being, and may you be free. Mimi says, wonderful and important discussion. Quite so. Quite so, Mimi. That's true. That's what we do here. We discuss important topics on the Big Up Yourself show. And I want to thank you for joining us. Thanks, Nicole. And we'll be in touch. Stay on for just 1 minute, right?
Okay.
All right. Bye, guys. See you next week.
Thank you.